Our toothbrush app logged his smile. The toothbrush was never supposed to be clever. We bought the fancy pair because my gums had complaints and Lena liked graphs. Every morning, the app would congratulate us with confetti and a tiny crown for best brushing technique. It gamified hygiene, and for a while, domesticity too. We'd stand shoulder to shoulder at the sink, mouths full of foam, bumping hips to the timer's chime like a couple that had decided to be adorable on purpose. On a Tuesday that already felt like a rerun, the app greeted me with unfamiliar applause. "Great job, Evan." Below it, a tidy timeline. New user detected 1:06 a.m. zones covered, 97%. The crown sat there smug on a name we didn't know. In the holder, my brush was dry. Lena's had that faint sheen of evaporating water. The spare head, still in its blister pack last week, was unwrapped, propped awkwardly in a coffee mug we keep by the mirror for hair ties and forgotten coins. A second brush handle blinked in the charging base, hers, but the app had claimed the night like a witness. I stared at the phone until the confetti animation looked more like static. Then I did the adult thing, by which I mean I rinsed the coffee mug and refilled it like this was the problem we could solve. When Lena woke, she curled into me with the muscle memory of good years and pressed her lips to my shoulder. Her mouth tasted like sleep and the particular sweetness of someone who believes the day will forgive them. "Coffee?" I asked. She nodded without opening her eyes. In the kitchen, the kettle made its private thunder. I poured her cup the way she likes, splash of oat milk, one indifferent sugar, and tried to choreograph a sentence that would land softly. The app was still open on the counter. Confetti refused to age. "Hey," I said, handing her the mug. "The toothbrush thinks we have an Evan." She blinked into the steam, eyes catching up to a narrative the day hadn't planned to host. "Okay," she said, and the word carried a suitcase. She didn't reach for the phone. She stared at the countertop where sunlight insists on being helpful and then downed half the coffee like a ritual and set the mug aside with care. "Mark, I'm sorry." There are a lot of sorrows. Hers was the kind that doesn't demand a stool to stand on. It sat quietly between us, heavy and sufficient. "Who is he?" I asked, not to pin anything to a board, to stop the room from making its own assumptions. "Evan from Post," she said, exhale catching on the V like she might apologize to the consonant later. "He stayed late to walk me through notes. We brushed our teeth before he left because I said my mouth felt like I'd chewed the edit. It was stupid to let the app name him." "Do you love him?" I asked, hatting the speed of it and grateful for the floor it gives you. Her face went through weather. "I don't know," she said. "I know I love you. I know I liked being looked at like a solved problem. I know I hate lying and I did it anyway." We stood with the ordinary between us. Sink, kettle, a drying rack full of plates nobody had wronged. The app kept offering me stars like the day had to be gamified to survive. "Let be braver than the algorithm," I said. "A month, pause, you at Maya's, me at Liam's. Ugly chair therapy, no rooms without windows, no toothbrush choreography with anyone else. Sundays, we meet in fluorescent spaces and answer 2 questions we won't like." She swallowed. "Which ones?" "When did you want to run?" I said. "When did you want to stay?" "Yes," she said immediately, which helped and hurt at the same time. "I'll tell him there's no more brushing anything." We packed without punishing the furniture. She took the sweatshirt that makes her small and my hands unhelpful. I took the plant that has withstood our winter and a new toothbrush head because superstition likes props. At the door she reached for my jaw with her thumb and forefinger like she was aligning a photograph. "Can I?" "You can kiss me," I said, "as a fact." It was slow and respectful, a kiss that leaves the room intact. My hand slid under the hem of her shirt and found the warm strip above her waistband. Her breath did that private double I've been greedy about for years. We stopped because we said we would. Sometimes restraint is the last expensive thing you can afford together. Liam's couch has a certificate in men discovering modern appliances are tattletales. He handed me a blanket, a beer, and a remote set to a sport with points you can add without shame. I slept like a person that had been turned down rather than off. The next afternoon, a number I didn't know texted with the courtesy of someone who understands shame. "This is Evan. I won't make a speech. If you want to see a person and not a profile name, I'll be at the bench by the canal at 1. If not, I will be aggressively elsewhere." He was already there when I arrived, good coat, careful posture, competence reluctantly wearing humility. He didn't offer his hand. Points for that. "I'm stepping back," he said. "Not as theater. I told her I won't be an excuse to be brave in the wrong direction." "Switch projects," I said. "Don't make hallways into plots you're in." "I did," he said. "I'm gradding detergent for a week. Nothing is sexy about whiteness claims." We sat without manufacturing wisdom. The canal pretended to be a river responsibly. "No cameo," I said. "No cameo," he agreed, and left like quitting was a skill worth practicing. Therapy got done in a room that would be bullied by Instagram. Mismatched chairs, a rug that knew other people's fights and didn't judge the new ones. The therapist asked for sentences with simple verbs. "I wanted to be looked at by someone who didn't know the version of me that forgets to buy paper towels," Lena said. "I wanted trust to be a savings account," I said. I skipped deposits and bragged about the balance. We did the small, serious inventory. Who apologizes first? Who buys coffee and who remembers to descale? Who calls their mother? Who labels leftovers and who treats the fridge like a scavenger hunt? We left with puffy eyes and a plan to keep promises cheaper and more frequent. In week 2, I met Sierra at the drugstore of all places, both of us staring at a wall of toothbrushes like tourists who lost their tour guide. She held up 2 options and said, "Which one looks like it won't narc on me?" Her smile was the kind that can be kind without auditioning. "The one without Bluetooth," I said, and we both laughed too long for strangers. We ended up walking the long loop around the canal because it was the only thing in the neighborhood that didn't try to sell us absolution. She told me about a husband who had loved her best when she was in motion. I told her about an app that thought it could administer morality with stickers. At a corner where the streetlight forgives most decisions, we kissed exactly once. Not a dare, a vote. My hand found the respectful map of her shoulder under her coat. Her mouth learned the pace my life requires now. We stopped while we still liked ourselves out loud. "Choose boring," she said, stepping back, "and earn heat." On Sundays, Lena and I kept the fluorescent appointment. "I wanted to run when the client said, 'Let's just make it pop,'" she said, and I felt like a slot machine. She wanted to stay when she pictured us old and rude about crossword clues, nursing the same stupid mug chipped in the same spot. I wanted to run when I saw a toothbrush ad on a bus, and my stomach voted for self-harm by memory. I wanted to stay when I pictured us teaching a kid to brush their teeth to a stupid timer, not because software says so, but because plaque is boring and love is, too, when it's true. The app kept trying. It gave me badges for flossing and once congratulated me on 2 users in one day. A cheer so accidentally merciless I laughed in the bathroom alone, and then sat down on the tub edge until the room forgave me. On day 19, it suggested a new feature: share your smile stats with a partner. I let the notification slide off the screen like a fly off glass. I bought manual brushes. I placed them in a ceramic cup that used to hold mismatched chopsticks. The phone sulked. On day 27, the app quietly relabeled the guest profile as unknown. The crown disappeared. I tapped into settings and turned off the community tab with a satisfaction so petty it made me grin. On day 30, Lena came back with a bag and a face that had retired from performing. We made tea and let the kitchen's ugly light do its honest work. "Rebuild," she said. "Rebuild," I said. "Slow, no monuments. We date each other in this apartment like it's new and cheap. Rooms with windows only. Report temptation like weather. If a device says anything about a third person, we throw the device in a drawer, not each other." We kissed like a contract and then like a homecoming. In the bedroom, we undressed the way competent people tidy. My mouth found the warm strip of skin above her waistband. Her breath answered at my ear. We kept it day safe, heat without theater, stopping while stopping still felt like skill and not punishment. We wrote rules on an index card and taped it inside the bathroom cabinet like children with better markers. We floss. We say when we want out. We do not let software talk louder than our mouths. We check the cup before we go to bed. We laughed at ourselves until laughing felt like penance and reward. Evan sent one last text. "No cameo," I replied. "None. Civility isn't forgiveness, it's low-friction dignity." Sierra and I became a bench exchange, daytime only, occasionally trading photos of ordinary victories. Her basil surviving, my plant leaning toward an honest window. Once she wrote, "Choose boring," and I wrote back, "Earning heat." And then we both stopped before we turned into a subplot. The plant finally got a name. Not Mercy, not Second Chance. We called it Mint because we were going to start over with things that taste clean without lying about sweetness. There are still mornings when the app's confetti animation flickers in my head and I feel ridiculous for caring about crowns. There are still nights when Lena's mouth makes a soft sound and a ghost gets greedy and I have to remind my bones that memory is not prophecy. We say it out loud. I wanted applause today for being mysterious. Instead, I sent my mother a picture of my sink. I wanted to punish you with silence. Instead, I asked what show you wanted and cued the worst one. Last night, while the timer on a very manual brush hummed its old-school hum in my head, Lena stepped behind me and slid her hands under my t-shirt, resting her palms on my stomach with the authority of people who plan to keep qualifying for touch. We stood there in the bathroom, two idiots in socks, and swayed without music. The mirror saw us and chose not to be cinematic. "You're going to get a crown today," she said, smiling against my shoulder. "I'm retiring," I said. "Let them mail it to the plant." She laughed, kissed the side of my neck, and we did the small choreography we'd taught ourselves. Rinse, wipe the sink, turn off the light, leave the door open. In bed, the room remembered how to be kind. The device on the counter minding its business for once communed with nothing. We moved the way you move when skin is a language you still speak fluently. We stopped where we meant to and were proud of the promise that kept us there. In the morning, the app pinged one last time before I muted it forever. "Great job, Mark," it chirped. No confetti, just a neat, boring line. I showed Lena. She reached for my face with her thumb and forefinger and aligned me, laughing. "Now brush your tongue," she said, bossy and tender. "And if there is a better marriage proposal than that after what we've done to each other, I haven't met it yet."